The $20 bill in my weathered hands shook as the kid behind the register called me a baby killer. That's what you Vietnam vets are, right? Tyler is name tag, said Tyler smirked at his coworker. My history teacher says you guys went over there and murdered innocent families. The fluorescent lights of Save Mart buzzed overhead like angry wasps. I'd been shopping here for 15 years. Same Tuesday routine, same checkout lane when possible. Same green army jacket with the bronze star pinned to the chest pocket. The one Sarah gave me for my 70th birthday, said I should wear my service with pride. Son, I said quietly, placing my coupons on the counter next to the loaf of bread and canned soup. I'd appreciate some respect. The line behind me stirred. I could feel their phones coming out before I even turned around. 2 teenagers, probably 16, 17 at most. One had his iPhone aimed at my face. This is going on TikTok, old man, the kid with the phone said. Show us what a real war criminal looks like. His friend laughed, stepping closer. Yeah, tell us about all the villages you burned. My chest tightened. The metal felt heavier than it had in decades. I focused on breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. The same technique Dr. Martinez taught me after the nightmares started coming back in '03. Just ring up my items. Please, I told Tyler, but Tyler was enjoying this. He held up one of my coupons 50 cents off Campbell's soup and waved it. Like a flag. Look at this, everyone. The baby killer's too cheap to pay full price. The phone kid pressed closer. Come on, Grandpa. Tell us about the war. Tell us about the kids you killed. The grocery store fell silent, except for the hum of refrigerated cases and the distant beep of scanners. Other customers pretended to study. Their phones, their shopping lists, anything but the old man being humiliated in Lane 7. I thought about Sarah, gone 3 years now. How she'd stroke my hand during the bad nights when the memories came flooding back. You did what you had to do, Harold, she'd whisper. You served your country with honor. The kid with the phone shoved my shoulder. We're talking to you, murderer. I steadied myself against the counter, my arthritic fingers gripping the edge. The bronze star caught the light, a small reminder of a moment 47 years ago when I'd carried a wounded Marine through enemy fire for 3 miles. When I'd saved lives instead of taking them. Upload it, the second kid urged. This is going to go viral. Tyler scanned my items with theatrical slowness, holding each one up for the camera. Bread for the baby killer. Soup for the baby killer. Wonder if he dreams about dead Vietnamese children while he eats. The words cut deeper than shrapnel. I'd heard them before at the airport in '71, at the grocery store in '85, whispered behind my back at the VA hospital, but never filmed, never broadcast to the world. That's enough, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. What's enough? The phone kid leaned in closer. What's enough, old man? The truth? Can't handle the truth about what you did over there? I closed my eyes and saw Nguyen, the 12-year-old boy I'd pulled from a burning hut outside Da Nang. Saw his mother weeping as I carried him to the medic station. Saw the look of gratitude in her eyes when she realized I was trying to save her son, not hurt him. You want the truth? I opened my eyes, staring directly into the phone camera. The truth is, I was 19 years old when they shipped me to Vietnam. The truth is, I spent 13 months in hell trying to keep my squad alive. The truth is, I never fired a shot unless someone was shooting at me first. Tyler snorted. Yeah, right. That's what they all say. The truth is, I continued, my voice growing stronger, I earned this medal pulling a wounded Marine to safety under enemy fire. The truth is, I've spent 50 years trying to forget the sound of mortar shells and the smell of napalm. The truth is, I wake up some nights still hearing the screams of boys, American boys, crying for their mothers as they died. The store had Gone completely quiet now. Even the music had stopped. The truth is, I said, meeting the phone camera's lens, I served my country because I believed in freedom. I believed in protecting the right of spoiled kids like you to stand in grocery stores and disrespect the men who bled for that right. The kid with the phone lowered it slightly. Something flickered across his face doubt, maybe shame. Tyler. Wasn't finished. Whatever, old man. You're all the same. You went over there. And Tyler Morrison. The voice came from behind me, crisp and commanding, military bearing unmistakable. I turned to see a young woman in marine dress blues, her. Blonde hair pulled back in a perfect bun, her uniform decorated with ribbons I recognized from my own service. Captain Sarah Wells, United States Marine Corps, she announced, her voice carrying across the store. And you're about to learn what real courage looks like. My heart stopped. Sarah. My Sarah. But she was dead, buried 3 years ago in Arlington National Cemetery. I blinked hard, wondering if the stress was making me hallucinate. Grandpa Harold, she said, moving to stand beside me. I got your text. Text? I hadn't sent any text. My phone was ancient, barely worked for calls, and I'd never learned to send messages. But she was here, solid and real, her hand resting on my shoulder. Ma'am, Tyler stammered, suddenly looking very young and very scared. I didn't know he was my grandfather, she said firmly. Staff Sergeant Harold Wells, 1st Infantry Division. Bronze Star, Purple Heart, 2 tours in Vietnam. The man who taught me what honor means. The phone kid was still recording. But now his hands shook. We were just asking about the war, ma'am. Captain Wells, my granddaughter Sarah, named for her grandmother, stepped toward the kids. Were you? Because what I heard was harassment of a decorated combat veteran. What I heard was you calling a man who served his country with distinction a baby killer. She turned to Tyler. And you, son, were you aware that this man spent his 19th birthday in a foxhole outside Saigon, getting shot at by people who wanted to kill him for the crime of being American? Tyler's face had gone. Pale. No, ma'am. Were you aware that he volunteered for a second tour because his unit was short on experienced soldiers? Were you aware that he spent his own money for 40 years sending care packages to Vietnamese orphanages? I stared at her. How could she know about the orphanages? That was something I'd never told anyone, not even Sarah's grandmother. The guilt. Money, I'd called it. The checks I'd sent every month to help rebuild what the war had torn down. Were you aware, Captain Wells continued, that he's spent the last 5 decades volunteering at the VA hospital, sitting with dying veterans who had no family, making sure no soldier died alone? The store manager had appeared, wringing his hands. Captain, I'm so sorry. Tyler, you're fired. Effective immediately. Wait, I said. All eyes turned to me. Don't fire him. Tyler looked confused. Sir, you're young, I told him. You don't know what you don't know, but you can learn. You can do better. I turned to the kids with the phone. You want to know about Vietnam? Come to the VA hospital next Thursday at 2 o'clock. Ask for Harold Wells. I'll tell you about Vietnam. I'll tell you about the Marines who died in my arms. I'll tell you about the village we saved from the Viet Cong. I'll tell you about the orphans we fed and the schools we built. The phone kid Marcus, I learned later, lowered his camera completely. You'd really do that? Yes, but first, you're going to delete that video. But it's already deleted, Captain Wells said quietly. Or I'll have you arrested for harassment of a military veteran. Marcus fumbled with his phone, fingers flying. Over the screen. Done. It's gone. Good. I turned back to Tyler. Ring up my groceries, son. And next time you see a veteran, you say thank you. You don't have to agree with the war, but you respect the warrior." Tyler nodded, tears in his eyes. "Yes, sir. Thank you, sir." As he bagged my items, I felt Captain Wells's hand on my shoulder again. "I'm proud of you, Grandpa." I turned to look at her, this miracle granddaughter who'd appeared when I needed her most. "How did you know I was here?" She smiled, and for a moment she looked exactly like her grandmother. The store manager called the base, said there was a veteran being harassed, and could someone from the public affairs office respond. I was the duty officer today. "But you knew about the orphanages, the VA hospital visits." Her smile widened. "Grandpa, I've been tracking your charity work for years. Every Christmas, every birthday, you tell me you don't need presents because you have everything you need. But I know where your Social Security checks go. I know about the 23 Vietnamese orphans you've put through school. I know about the VA visits, the homeless shelter volunteering, the food bank." My throat tightened. "You knew?" I knew. And I made sure the base commander knew. And the local American Legion Post, and the VFW chapter. And the newspaper? The newspaper? She pulled out her phone, showed me a screen. Tomorrow's front page. Local veterans' quiet heroism spans 5 decades, complete with photos of you at the VA hospital, quotes from the orphanage directors in Ho Chi Minh City, testimonials from homeless veterans you've helped. I stared at the phone, seeing my own face looking back at me from what would be tomorrow's headline. But how? I've been working on it for months. A surprise for your 75th birthday next week. I wanted the world to know what kind of man my grandfather really is. The store had filled with people now other customers, employees, even some folks who'd apparently heard the commotion from the parking lot. They were all staring at us, at the old man in the army jacket and the young Marine captain who'd claimed him as family. "Ma'am," Tyler said quietly, "I'm really sorry. I didn't know." "You didn't know because you didn't ask," Captain Wells replied. "You made assumptions. You believed what you wanted to believe instead of learning the truth." She addressed the crowd now, her voice carrying to every corner of the store. "This man, Staff Sergeant Harold Wells, represents the best of what America can be. He served his country in an unpopular war, came home to protests and hatred, and spent the next 50 years proving that service doesn't end when you take off the uniform." Someone in the back started clapping, then another person, then another. Soon the entire store was applauding, the sound echoing off the walls like thunder. I felt tears on my cheeks. When had I started crying? The medal on my chest felt lighter. Now, not a burden, but a badge of honor. The scared 19-year-old who'd left for Vietnam in 1970 had finally come home. "Thank you," I whispered to Captain Wells. "Thank you for seeing me." She hugged me then, this granddaughter who'd become a warrior herself, who'd chosen to serve in a world that still didn't always appreciate the sacrifice. "Thank you for showing me what courage looks like, Grandpa. Thank you for teaching me that heroes don't always wear capes." As we walked out of the store together, Marcus the kid with the phone called after us. "Mr. Wells, Thursday at 2 o'clock, right? At the VA hospital?" I turned back. "Thursday at 2. Bring your friend. Bring anyone who wants to learn." "Yes, sir. And Mr. Wells?" "Thank you. For your service. For everything." I nodded, my throat too tight for words. Outside, the Texas sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. Captain Wells walked me to my old Honda, made sure I was steady behind the wheel. "See you Thursday, Grandpa," she said. "I'll be there for your talk." As I drove home, I thought about the video that would never be uploaded, the story that would run in tomorrow's paper, the kids who would come to hear about Vietnam from someone who'd actually been there. I thought about the long road from that grocery store checkout line to this moment of redemption. But mostly, I thought about the bronze star on my chest and how sometimes the greatest battles are fought not with guns or grenades, but with quiet dignity in the face of ignorance. Sometimes the most important victories are the ones that happen when nobody's watching in VA hospital rooms, in homeless shelters, in the hearts of children half a world away who'll never know the name of the American soldier who paid for their education. The kid behind the register had called me a baby killer. He was wrong. I was a lifesaver. Always had been. It just took 50 years for anyone to notice Dot, and in the end, that was enough. That was more than enough. That was everything.